Hey folks, Kevin here with Thea, and
Me?
yes, there she is. For your information, we are trying something new. We've hooked up wireless mics for each of us. So go ahead, Thea, and you can talk.
And it's got a fuzzy thing on it, so if the wind blows like it's going to tomorrow, it will muffle everything.
Don't touch it, hun, please.
I will
Okay.
not touch it. Go for it.
So what I've done in the past, I've always gone from the west garden to the central garden to the east garden. So I thought what I'd do right now is show you the basics of it. So the west garden is the chain link fencing or large kennel panels that we've used for the last several years. Around the perimeter out here are the gooseberry plants that we've got all the way around the outside of the west garden plot. Now these
Here,
are
look, show them how they're coming. I just noticed that. Aren't they looking good? And they have the lines in them there.
Yes, the gooseberries are green and white striped. You can see some of them here. So these are the ones that we've been hilling or mounding or simple layering. So I still have to add more mulch to the area as well. There's weeds around here. But what we're going to do now is take a walk inside the kennel panels and inside the western garden plot. And we'll take a look at some of the plants in there.
I'll get the gate.
And a girl.
And we got our cats with us now.
Yes, we have cats. So the only work I've done over here, so this is one of the spots the snapping turtles come along and lay their eggs. This is June, so that's a big deal that's going on now. So the only thing that I have done over in this area this season is I took down the large cattle panel trellis that we had here. And I took a lot of the wood chips and paper material here and spread it out some with Elon. I have a lot more to do in this area. But this is on hold until we get the rest of the garden straight. So what we'll do is we'll go through the gardens. But one other thing I wanted to show you is over here, the thornless blackberry plants. Now up front, they aren't doing as well because the deer come in and top them every single night. So these ones here growing in the pots in this place and growing down through the bottoms as well. This is an area later on I'll try and get these transplanted and all. So let's take a look. You want to go down and take a look at the honeyberries there, hon?
Yep. Honeyberries and weeds.
So along the inside of the chain link kennel panel here, we have the honeyberry plants. So these are all honeyberry plants with a few dandelions here. So these are all the ones that we've grown. And if you look down in here, you're going to see lots of little berries that are getting close to getting ripe. And we have the ragweed, the thistle, the mugwort, all of these in here. But
That's my job to take them out.
You're going to weed is what you're saying, right?
I'm going to weed. Recommended by Kevin, weed.
Good. And then to our left, the blueberry plants, they're doing pretty well. The ones in the first food forest aren't doing quite as well, but we're at the point now where we can go ahead and do some softwood cuttings from these. We don't want to do any where the berries are, but you could see in some of these mounds, the blueberry plants, lots of new growth. And we can do softwood cuttings from these ones.
So we have about 3 rows with some missing plants in between. But
Yep.
when you got them, they were like tiny
They were
little
seedlings.
ones. Yeah.
Yep. They were a lot of them were hardwood cuttings that were just very, very small. So the benefit of them being in here, they don't get topped off by all the white-tailed deer. They gobble them down like crazy out in the food forest.
And we still get good amount of berries. When they're out there, the deer also eat the berries and all.
And the birds.
And the birds. But in here, it's more the birds, but they don't eat as much and consume as much. And maybe because our cats are walking around the whole time, they don't hang out here much.
Right.
No.
And down here you can see we got some German chamomile in this location, the taller stuff, and then bindweed down here. So I got to get in here and work as soon as I get the opportunity and all. And we did start some of our hardwood cuttings. They aren't doing as well. A lot of them aren't going to make it, and the main reason is because they sat inside of the work area for over a month after being cut down. And so we'll see what does come out of them, but there's really we aren't getting as many as we normally do get.
So these are the red currants here. Is that label correct?
Yes, those are the red currants.
Okay. And were these the Hosta Berries?
Yeah, the Hosta Berries are down here. Yep. So this garden plot here has been completely neglected. Been too busy in other areas. This is one of our volunteer elderberry plants right here.
And tons of chamomile, and I really love chamomile tea, especially in the winter. You just get peaceful and all. So it'll just be here for months as new flowers come up. So I really want to make sure I get a good collection, this year on that. And then over here, we had the lupine, and it's you can see it in between the weeds. So what I like to do is go ahead and weed this today or tomorrow, and a lot of those flowers that we had started, it'll be a good home for them in between.
So these ones, so they're a perennial plant, but a lot of these have self-seeded. So this is one of the lupine in here, but so this is all Pennsylvania smartweed right in here. And unfortunately, if we don't weed before they go to seed, then we've got more weeds to deal with later on. So you can see they're few and far between. So this is a lupine here, another lupine right here.
And really, if you look, there are a lot of them. So I'm just going to get on my kneeling pad and come through and expose them, and then fill in any blanks with the flowers we like, so nature doesn't feel that she has to go put a weed in between.
There you go. Okay. Let's get ready to head over to the central garden. So we got asters coming up all over in between here as well. A lot of people absolutely love these, and I love them as well. But it can...
Oh, explain I'll close the gate, what's over on this side.
These are more gooseberries over here. We do have, that's some oregano right in here. Gooseberries. These are the chives that I dug up where the sweet potatoes were grown last year by the handicap garden over in the eastern garden plot. And quite a few more gooseberries, another chive down in here, another chive right there. And we got some milkweed down in here as well. We really do like this for the butterflies, the monarchs as well. And this is a spot that I dug up, but you can see just lots and lots of seeds growing in here. And this is another spot where a snapping turtle laid their eggs. This is snapping turtle season right now. So when you have a plant like this, and you can see this is a gooseberry, they're thorny. See some of the gooses here, the berries here. If you build soil up to this level right here, each one of these will be a separate plant. And that's how we got so many from down there. I think I took about a half a dozen, not quite a dozen plants, and you could see how many plants. There's probably well over 100 plants there.
Tons of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And they taste good.
Yep, they do taste good. You just got to wait until they're ripe. If you eat them before they're ripe, boy, they certainly don't taste that good. So, did you want to talk about your lily pads over there, hon?
You read my mind. We're one.
Oh
my God. I was saying we should go over and show them the lily pad, and you came right out of your mouth.
That's wonderful, hon.
Oh, jeez. All right, let's go see what we can find.
One of the things I did start, you can see on the other side of the pond over there, you can see more of the block wall. So there's two layers of block wall here. There's a block wall that you can see above ground. And then there's another block wall the same height as that below the water surface. And these are all lily pads in here. And I'm going to make some modifications, but the marginal zone, the areas around the outside where you see a lot of new tree development, lots of poplars growing over there, some willows as well. Those pioneer species and all, along with the grasses and other plant materials that are in the margins, they're all part of the bioremediation, but that'll all grow new soil. So I'll be taking those out like I did over here. I'll have more to do. There's some poison ivy on the side. But this whole area will get reworked somewhat when Thea and I work
And you
together.
can see when he says like the marginal is like 4 feet. Here's a rock as reference, like it's ground, but when the water gets high, it will come up and then recede, you know, into the main pond area. So the frogs like to stay on the edges and the turtles climb up, and then if something comes by, you see them zoom into the water.
So we'll see all of the birds, including insectivores, all along these margins. We'll see the red-winged blackbirds. We'll see the flycatchers in here. What other birds? Oh, the green herons are in here. And of course, everybody who's hunting for the frogs and the turtles as well show up. And you can see a couple of the lily pads starting to open up around in here.
And the lily pads have traveled up the little canal area too. So it's good places for the frogs to hide, and there's plenty of water snakes in here too. Look how tall that grass is with the seeds. It's really pretty.
It'll all make good soil. And again, that's all part of bioremediation, going ahead and breaking down compounds to inert compounds.
And these are native irises, right? The yellow ones that just came up along the side.
That's
they come
right.
back every year, the yellow ones, and they're pretty.
And the duckweed down there helps to camouflage a lot of the frogs. There's a bullfrog right in front of us. It's hard to see right now, but all of the duckweed and these various plant material in here help to decrease the amount of sunshine in here, and the water gets clear, even though there may be sediment that comes from pond 1, pond 2, going into pond 3 over there, and by the time it gets to here, the water's pretty much crystal clear coming in here. And you can see a few of the blocks. I started taking out some of the area, but we had a small walking bridge, but I was never using it because everything had been growing up over in here. So you want to go into the central garden now?
You can look at the comfrey flowers in there. They're looking gorgeous.
So we did dig up some of the comfrey from this, our workshop wall here, and we planted those along the fence where the nursery section was. Go ahead and go in, hon. You can show them the plants that are in the garden.
Wow.
Oh, so you can see the carpenter, the bees in here. So these are really wonderful. They really suppress the weeds. This is their first growth. Now out in the food forest, these have already fallen down, but they're somewhat protected by the overhang here on the shop. But you can see some are starting to lay down. They'll all lay down, and then we'll get a second growth. And if it isn't a huge drought this year, we'll get a third growth of the comfrey. And then we can divide up more of the roots and put them in different parts of the property as well.
So this is the broccoli, which thus far is doing very well. And the leaves aren't being all eaten at this point, but we have a lot of the, what they call kingbirds, that love sitting on this fence line all around.
So they'll sit on the posts, on the fence here, and they're constantly eating all of the caterpillar moths, all of the insects in the area. And we have the barn swallows as well, but all of the flycatchers and insectivores are absolutely wonderful.
And I think the kingbirds made a nest in the barn up there too, in the sidewall.
So the broccoli, so the plants that you see in here, they are planted too close together, but we're going to harvest plants to get them a couple of feet apart, because you really don't want the broccoli this close together, but they got a little over exuberant when putting them in down in here.
But you never know. Sometimes nothing comes up,
That's
so
right.
you got to overdo it.
So you can consume the broccoli leaves, especially when they're young and healthy like this. They might be a little bit bitter, but in a stir fry, they'll be absolutely fine. The other plant that I'll show that grows up bountifully here are, again, the Pennsylvania smartweed, and those have the little chevrons on the leaves. And I always want to have a few of the Pennsylvania smartweeds around, because the Japanese beetles, if we do have an issue with Japanese beetles this year, they preferentially go for this Pennsylvania smartweed. So what do you got here? You got two different types of kale, hon?
Yes, and the little bugs are coming around me now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my God. Okay, so yes, there's two kale. This is the red Russian, right?
Yep.
And this is the premier kale. So I harvested some for our salad, actually the red Russian first, because that came up quicker. And then yesterday I picked at the other end some for our wraps and all. So the next day or two I'm going to keep on getting leaves and then freezing them for the winter, because we put them all in our meals, because kale is very good for you.
So these, although there's lots and lots of bugs around, and I gotta say, the having the various hedgerows that we have, and having the spots for the flycatchers and the barn swallows to be able to nest in, that really keeps the bugs down, so we don't get too much damage to the plants themselves. Also, the spiders really help out as well.
And next row is our row of tomatoes, and these are the San Marzero. Did I say that right?
San Manzano. Yeah, I wish you wouldn't say it first, hon. San Manzaro. No, I can't say it now that you've said it.
They're coming.
Marzano. San Marzano.
So they're doing very well. I planted them deep, because with tomatoes you take the bottom leaves off and plant them deep.
So the stems, those little those little hairs along the stems can develop into beautiful roots all along in here. So you just peel these off, and so all these need to get pinched off soon as well. And here's some lamb's quarter in here. But we purposely, Thea has little sticks next to the tomatoes here, so that when they're really young and delicate, which they're getting better now, when the sun's hitting, which it's an overcast day today, it heats up the weed mats, and it can burn and damage them. So we have the weed mats pulled back when we first transplant them in, until they get to the point where they're more mature, and then you have the weed mats together, and there's less weeding to do as a result. And so by pulling the weed mats up over these weeds, then we can get the tomato cages put around each one of these. But what we'll do is come down and prune off all the lower leaves, because these lower leaves will send out little axillary. So these will be little axillary tomato producing branches. So we really want the tomatoes to be about this high before we have any clusters of tomatoes coming out. So we really want them about 18 inches high, because when the tomatoes get heavy, they'll go ahead and hang down and be on the weed mat. And we have so many tomatoes and all, it's a real pain in the butt if we don't take good care to keep the airflow going well, going through them. Keep the plants about 2 feet apart. Our tomato cages are designed for them. Here we have some dock. Now this can be a problem. That one won't necessarily, so we'll pull that one and toss it.
Your insectivore right up on your roof right there, your barn swallow, has been talking. I think they're waiting for us to leave so they can get some breakfast.
Yep, nice little barn swallow right up there.
Now over here, there's 2 rows of the red onion, and they are so, I call them weak and frail when you first put them in. We really move the mats back, but they're surviving, you can see right, very nicely in here, and they're getting stronger. So I think what I'm going to do this week is, pull some of these big weeds, then pick the mat up and move it where it belongs, closer, so we don't keep on getting weeds all the time. I'll still keep, this one I'll probably bring right up to the hose, but this one I'll give it still a little space, you know, so that in case it's super hot, 90 degrees, we don't damage the onions.
So these are ones that we start real early. In March, I believe it is, we start the seeds indoors in 72 cell flats. The roots aren't very well developed, but when you transplant them in the ground, all of the top, all of the foliage, all of the green material lays flat right on the ground. So if we had them right next to the weed mats, they'd get burnt and wouldn't survive. By having the weed mats back so far, we allow them to lay down, and over a few days' time, they start to stand up. And now you could see, if you can just visualize the onions themselves, they're all standing up nicely. So now is a good time, as Thea was saying, to be able to go ahead, if we want to weed around them just fine. And you can see they're getting more of a firm structure here. You can see the little bulbule starting to develop. So there's less weeding by having a single row of plants with the weed mats coming up and touching each other. This is a challenge with delicate ones like the tomatoes here. You don't want the tomato main stem to get burnt, and you don't want the foliage of the red onions or any of the onions, because if they're laying down flat on the surface of the ground initially, they'll get burnt by the scorching sun hitting the black weed mat.
Another chamomile.
Yeah.
So
this one I think is a Roman chamomile, lower to the ground like this. So I am thinking about doing a few things. One of the things I'm thinking about doing, and I've ordered, last season, and that's this material underneath here, that's all cover crop. And so this was all mustard greens throughout this whole area that we laid back the weed mats, and we left just the weed mats right in the center of the trails and had everything covered with cover crop to feed the microorganisms, because we don't use fertilizers here. So one of the things that I think it's called no-till growers, they've had pretty good success with using Roman chamomile, not the German chamomile. The German chamomile is like the one we saw in the western garden plot that gets real tall, but having this in all of their living paths. So I'm going to experiment with this and white clover, like the Dutch red clover, but it's a European one that's a little more economical now and easier to get. So we have a mixture of white clover and chamomile for living paths and as a ground cover as well.
Okay, our next row are peppers. These are the banana peppers. These are ones that we got from our friend down the road, a local farmer who's retired now but still has a little bit of his nursery. And because our peppers didn't do very well, but we can show you when we get over to the handicap garden. So we bought 12 of his banana peppers, which Kevin's showing you.
Yep.
And again, we have those little sticks keeping the mat away from them. And then...
So you put these in within the last week, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the other garden, we put the other species of peppers. They're actually jalapeno peppers, so that we didn't get too much cross-pollination with them being next to each other. And the last
helpers.
row here is blue potatoes.
These are the blue flesh potatoes. Now the ones that you see here, this is pretty interesting. This is where I grew the blue potatoes last year. And so we just got done within the last week. I lose track of my days, to tell you the truth. Within the last week, I took Elon and I opened up a little crevice in the center here, and we planted all of our root cellar blue potatoes in here. But one of the things I would say is, because some of the blue potatoes got moved around here as well, so here's a blue potato here right in our path. So there's
and right by your knee, look at that one.
So there's blue potatoes every place around in here. And we haven't had problems with disease with planting the same. without doing rotational crops and all. Now we do, like, no tomatoes have been in this bed for several years. So we do rotate our crops and all, but with the potatoes, we just haven't had any disease issues at all with the potatoes. So this year I planted the blue potatoes in the same place since this bed is a little bit longer than the one we have the russets in, and because some of the blue potatoes were already popping up from before and all. So one of my thoughts is, geez, in nature, as long as we're not introducing various pesticides, herbicides, and we're being very careful not to bring any soil in that has been compromised, we're building our own soil. I think there's a far less chance of there being a disease being introduced into the soil that can affect the potatoes. And like in nature, the potatoes just keep coming back. If you don't take all of the potatoes will just keep coming back year after year. So that's something I'm going to be exploring as time goes on. And I see, we got Thea's helpers here.
Yes, we have Bruce and Timmy.
The garden elves. All right.
Let's go out the same gate so we don't have to forget about closing and all that stuff. Come on, guys. Brucey, Timmy.
Another Pennsylvania smartweed coming up
Kitty,
here.
kitty. They're very independent souls. They don't necessarily come when you suggest they come follow us, but they'll be with us anytime now.
It's kind of like being married, hon.
True, true. Oh, look, the peonies.
Yep.
Got a big flower there. Let's look at the peony and then let's pass by the herb
Well, go ahead and
garden.
lead the way, hon.
All right, peony first.
Yeah, found another garden weed staple on the ground. Give me a flat. So go
Every
ahead.
year we say we're going to move these, this
Yep.
one and this one, but
Two different types of peonies.
we didn't get to it. So it's easier for Kevin to mow along there, but eventually they'll probably go over to the little sitting area by where the lily pad pond is and all. But as soon as I walked over, a whole bunch of frogs just jumped right in the canal system.
We got lots of banded water snakes in here as well. And I'll just mention I just mowed in here yesterday, but we've been getting quite a bit of asparagus out of the gardens, huh?
Oh yeah, lots.
So
Probably
this is
tired of eating asparagus, but we do it. I put them on a baking sheet and then put some onion and some garlic powder on it and some black pepper. And then some, I take organic lemons, get the juice out of it and sprinkle that on it. Then it bakes in the oven.
and the zest too. You do the zest too, don't you?
Zest goes and when it comes out.
Oh,
So, but yes. So then it goes in at 425 for 18 minutes and then take it out and then you sprinkle the zest on. So it's really nice that you can come along and get these and then bring it in and have it tonight.
so they're all around this margin of this canal here, and we have. Well, you get buckets full.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And I'm kind of picky. I only like the top here. So then the bottom part goes to our composting pile.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. You want
Oh,
to
you're coming.
show
Come
your
on.
sage over there? Did you?
Yep, Bruce is coming. Timmy's
Oh,
saying
thank
that. Wait.
God.
All right. So I really like the herbs and I like to get more into the herb thing. But at least we have some. So this is sage, which I was, not sure if we had mentioned, but I was in here pruning dead, what do you call them, stems off.
Yep.
And now they're coming back really well. And you know, you do, oh my God, that smells so good. and the flowers are gorgeous, and there's always bees, you know, in here. Our lavender's not doing as great. We probably have to start some more lavender, but this plant lives. See, it started its beautiful flowers.
Yep.
And lavender tea we have, the sage I put in about every meal. That's thyme, and thyme I also put in just about every meal. And then if we just, let's see, walk around.
So if we prune these regularly, which we haven't done, Thea got in here and did a big hacking job on it, because once they overgrown, they get too woody, and they don't do quite as well. The thyme seems to do pretty darn well as well. And these are not regularly irrigated on a timer section.
Yeah, we used to have it hooked up, right? Years ago when we first started with lavender. But because you can see where the hose, you know, was there. But I did water them last week when between no rain time. And they're making it our hard winters, so that's super.
And you could see our snow gets well up at least midway on the eagle here, so like 5 foot deep here, because as I'm snow blowing the access road here, it just gets piled up on here with weed seeds and all. So these do remarkably well, you know, given all the circumstances. What's going on, Timmy? I still haven't picked up yet around here. We have a lot more to do to work around here.
See, they're starting.
Yep. So these are our Scarlet Red Runner beans in here. Not looking great.
And I put like 3 beans in a section, so.
Yeah.
And I did come along and water because I wasn't 100% sure the tape,
The tape is working. We just have to plant more seeds in here. And the other side, they look better. Do you see the other side there?
That's doing better.
So
different areas are better. This had a lot more bark in it than that side. That had more soil when I was putting them in, but
you have to reach down to get to the soil.
Yeah, but it's super difficult.
Okay. So we're going over here now?
Yes, because here we are.
Okay.
So I was talking about how our peppers weren't too good, but instead of tossing them over the edge, I did stick them last week, what was left of them.
Yeah, these are pitiful. I haven't never had this sort of problem with growing our own pepper plants. So we did have some algae. The watering was a little excessive with the light, so we had algae competing with the peppers and all. But that's how it is. Now last year, our timer for irrigating these beds, we had a 4-gang timer here, an orbit timer, and it probably had died for a couple of weeks, and these beds were just laden with strawberry runners hanging over the sides, coming out in the walls here. And so as a result, most of the strawberry plants ended up dying. So we have some that are left now. So we're going to be taking these garden staples and taking the runners as they extend out and put them in the locations that we want them. So here's an example of the runners here starting out here. We just want to put them exactly where we want them to try and get as many strawberry plants. So each one of these strawberry plants will make about a half a dozen more strawberry plants this season, and next season it'll do the same thing. We had purchased quite a few strawberry plants from our soil and conservation extension, but none of them were viable. I thought one was going to be viable, but it ended up not being viable.
And where this stick is to that stick, our neighbor who we bought the peppers from gave us a gift of their parsley. And I'll show you over there in the rain gutter once we get that way.
Go right ahead, hon.
So this is some more of the onions.
The red onions.
Because we had extra, and we already used 2 rows way over there. So seeing that the strawberries didn't come up, we said, well, why do we put them in here? And that last row of irrigation line, we put some seeds of more spinach. They seem to take forever, and you think they're not coming up, and then they do.
So here's spinach in the rain gutter garden here. Everything does need to be weeded and weed whacked because all these seed are going to be a problem.
And these are some basil that our friend gave us, and then I planted some dill. We're not doing any pickling this year, but I kind of like just the dill leaves on salads and things because it tastes good. Oh, you want to talk about your sweet potatoes?
Sure. So this year we grew just about all of our vines from one sweet potato. Then we rooted the vines as we shown in our sweet potato video series. Most of them look to be transplanted pretty well into this area. We got this started a little bit late, but they always look a little bit rough each year before they end up doing extremely well. There are a few spots that are a little bit sparse that the roots may not have been quite as developed on some of the vines, but we'll see just how well everything works out.
And then too is when I was planting, sometimes there's leaves at one end and then a long stem, root, whatever, which I put, so in other words, this starts here, but it really underground goes to there.
Okay.
And Kevin put high fencing because the deer love eating all these.
Yes.
And we put the gate because the dog likes eating all the potatoes.
He'll dig down and grab all the sweet potatoes on us.
Yep. Oh, and we put the flowers.
So what flowers do you have here, hon?
Oh, so we have black-eyed Susies alternating with chamomile. So that's good. They should be doing well.
Do you know which chamomile this one is?
Most of it is the German.
Yep. So we started both German and Roman chamomile.
And we continued the line, over here. Just didn't go the edge because the lawnmower is probably going to come this way.
Yep.
And what did you say? You're going to put some gravel or something here in the middle?
It's going to be a path. I haven't decided yet how to deal with it. I want to have it as easy to maintain as possible. Mm-hmm. And we did do a couple of videos recently on rebuilding these garden beds and all. So this is where we're at this point. So you put some more
flowers. Yep.
So these are more black-eyed Susans and chamomile mixed around here. And then one of the things, and again, all along this side here, and I don't see any, so we got to replant some more of the Scarlet red runner beans along in here. I don't see any coming up, but there are some down in here coming up.
I'll have to get some more out of the pods.
So in this bed, I went ahead and used the earthway seeder, and I made a couple of passes with corn. Now, there's two ways that I planted corn in the past. And one way is just taking the stored corn kernels, putting them in the earthway seeder, and it does a really good job of getting things started. The other thing I've done in the past is soak the seed that have been in storage for years, soak the seed so that they swell up, and that gives us a couple of days head start on the corn starting, getting ready to germinate. But I had forgotten that with the earthway seeder, once the corn swells up, the ones that are ready for sweet corn, the seeding disc that's for sweet corn, that ends up throwing the kernels out into the aisle and all. So there's going to be corn growing up in the aisles, and there's going to be sparse spaces. So I came down twice in the same path, so there'll probably be clusters of too many corn close to each other in some places, and corn in the aisles as well. Then the other thing I did do was in this bed and that bed, we have some Denver carrots that I went ahead and used the Jang seeder, and I put the carrot seeds in here. And I got a new roller for putting the carrot seeds down, because in the past we've just had the seeds come out too thick. So I put the seeds into the seed compartment, came down, and I looked, it looked like no seeds were coming out. And of course I didn't test it beforehand to see the seed spacing. So like an idiot, I went ahead and came down the paths twice. So this bed and this bed, because I wasn't sure that seeds were getting dropped out, because it seemed like the volume of seed in the chamber was staying the same. So either we have too few seeds, or like I've done in the past, have too many seeds in here. So, and one of the things I would say is, you'll see from me throwing up the soil from the paths, here are some honey locust seeds that are germinating. This is some Pennsylvania smartweed here, another honey locust one there. So what I'll do is I'll come down and I'll flame weed before the carrots start to germinate. So probably before the end of this week is when I'll have to do it, these 3 beds, getting them flame weeded. As much as I like all the rest of the things, and as you see the seeds that were in the path here, lots and lots of weed seeds germinating here, so flame weeding it would be good. But I can't use the big 4-foot flame weeder because that won't fit in here, won't give the same heat penetration to break down the cells in the cell wall, which will devitalize the seeds. So here we are, tons of Pennsylvania smartweed seeds germinating here. But one of the good things about using cattle panels is I can let the flame weeder hit the cattle panel, whereas I can't go down with the Premier 1 and use the flame weeder because I'll burn the fencing material. So what else did you do here, hon?
So this is, you want to come around this way maybe? Or
Whatever way you want to go.
So, watch out, Boochie, stop grooming yourself. So these are the other peppers that we got. These are jalapenos. And so we put them in the same day as we did the banana. And they're about every 2.5 feet. I think these were apart.
Okay. Is there one under him?
I don't think so. No, because I went 2 feet from the end.
Okay.
And these are your other potatoes. The russets, are they?
Yeah, this is the bed. Again, I took Elon from over here, made a little divot in the center, and we put the russet potatoes into this little channel here. Then I took some of the soil from out back that came from a bed that was here, because they used to have a very wide bed over here, rather, and filled up the extra soil in there. And there won't need to be as much hilling when we have the potatoes down low. It just takes them a while to emerge.
That's it, I think. Is that it?
Yes, that's it for today. So overall, how do you feel about how the gardens are doing at this point?
Good. I'm glad everything is in. It's just the flowers, you know, that are not in. And in the next 2 to 3 days, they should all be in. Because out back, where we put the grasses, you put down the leaf mulch, so now I can have something to put the flowers in. Because they're at the point where they used up, I think, all the nutrition, you know, in those tiny little trays. Yep. So we'll get them in the ground. But at least we got some of them in.
Yeah.
And that would give us more floor space in the greenhouse area, because we want to move the figs from the outside of the building kind of closer, a little easier access, and when people come, they can see it better.
Yeah. So the only other things that I've still got to do with the gardens is, one, I want to get a fence line up higher than the 5-foot tall cattle panels, or just over 40. I think these are 50 inches, and I have them a little bit raised as well. But getting weed mats down too, to suppress weeds so we're not working too hard during the season time. Some flame weeding in here, replanting some of the Scarlet red runner bean seeds as well. And that's mostly the things. I've got to put some extra supports up for the Premier 1 in between each one of the T-posts over there. And there's some weed mats over next to the workshop there that we got to get in as well. But overall, I'm pretty happy with, considering how much renovation and how laid up I was for such a long period of time. We're making progress.
And now there's 2 of us out here doing things, you know.
So we fight like cats and dogs.
We have so much fun. We don't work, we plurk.
That's
Play
right. Yeah.
and work is plurk. Yes.
Okay, hon, do you want to close out the video now?
We had a great time telling you all what we were doing today, so I hope you enjoyed it and you start your own garden and grow your food and be out and love nature. And we'll be tying in with you probably with another video just like this, but a little different in about a week. Take care. Love ya. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for watching, folks. Have a safe and productive day. Bye-bye now.